Welcome to the Pursuit podcast. It's a brand new podcast about the Washington Nationals, the 2019 defending World Series champion Washington
Yes,
Nationals.
sir.
Man, how crazy is that? They did
Yeah,
it. They won.
they actually did the thing. I'm your host, Michael Marzzacco, also the founder of the Pursuit. And yes, I see Evan right there showing off the same hat that I'm wearing right
I
there.
feel
We
left
laughed at
out.
Great minds
And
think
then
alike. Great minds think alike.
Uh,
And we also got Matthew Jacobson here too. He's another co-founder.
What's up? Yeah, I did a lot with Twitter last summer. And the year before, I'm actually dog sitting in the same house where I went on my tirade after David Bodie hit that walk-off grand slam. So
Dogs,
safe
that's
to
ever
say, things have changed a little bit, but super excited to.
The Cubs really have not beaten us at Wrigley since that day.
They have not, but super excited to get going with you guys, and baseball's back in
And
less than
me,
24 hours.
I'm just over here vibing.
Good looks, man.
I'm just vibing.
So we all were a part of the story in that unbelievable run to the World Series. I know two of you guys were at the wild card game, which I'm insanely jealous of. And Evan, who we have on, was actually on Improbable.
The
Tell
documentary, yeah.
Tell me more about that night.
I mean, well, the clip that I was on that was in Improbable, that was actually from the wild card game. Like, I think they actually made that clear. Like, it was right after they showed the footage of them winning. And then that was basically me going on like an emotional tirade about like me being proud of the team or whatever. I cannot remember verbatim what I said. Like there's recordings of it, so like it's beyond me. I think I got a recording of it on my phone, but like maybe we could edit it into the episode or something like that. I don't remember word for word, but it was like real emotional and stuff. And then my phone was blowing up like, dude, you're on TV, you're on Improbable, you're on the documentary, this, that, and the third. And I was like, wow. Like that's when it really sunk in that I was really a part of this like historic run. And that's gonna be like for all history. The sweetest thing is that like that documentary came out like 5 days before my birthday.
Wow, that's a great birthday gift to have.
Indeed.
And I know we actually met Game 6 when Strasburg threw that gem. Me and Evan did. And that was an interesting night. And you were even in D.C., right? The day after that.
Oh, I was at the watch party.
At the watch party. What was that night like when Howie hit that home run off the foul pole and everything?
When Howie hit that home run. So at the beginning, well, I was in behind the visitors dugout where I usually was during the watch parties for most of them. And then when Howie hit that home run off the bat, I'm thinking, yeah, that's a double. Like, yeah, that's definitely a double. They're not gonna catch that. And then it hit the foul pole, and my soul just left my body. It took every ounce of my strength to not fall out from that.
Oh, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I know. So for Game 7, the school I work at, we were actually on a field trip, and I was thinking, yeah, I don't know where I'm going to watch a game. This was back when, you could go places and do things and not have to worry like, oh, am I going to die from a once-in-a-century pandemic? But, we'll leave that for when baseball isn't happening. So I texted a buddy of mine on the bus back from Baltimore. I'm like, the tickets to the Wizards game are $20. We can go to the Wizards game. We can have a seat for like the last couple innings. We can follow along on the phone. $20 guarantees us a seat. Are you in? He texts me back, yeah, let's do it.
The funny thing about that game, though, You remember who the Wizards were playing that
They were
night?
playing the Rockets. It was
The Rockets.
153 in regulation. There was not a semblance of defense played. And what I remember,
because neither team played defense because both teams wanted the game to be over so they could watch Game 7.
So they could watch Game 7.
That's my conspiracy theory, and I'm sticking to that to this day. They wanted the game to be over as quick as possible so they could both watch Game 7.
So what I remember is Howie hits the home run, and I think the Rockets have the ball with like 15 seconds left in the game. It's a timeout. I think the Wizards are up by a point, and news starts to spread around the arena. And everyone is just losing their mind. I think James Harden hits the game-winning shot on that possession, but I don't think anybody cared.
And nobody cared.
Nobody cared because Kendrick had hit the home run. It goes from the luxury suites where they had the TVs. News spreads around like wildfire. I get a notification on my phone.
Like, oh, boo or whatever. Just go in the locker room. Go.
Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And then they just kept tacking on and on and on. And, man, shout out to Patrick Corbin. My man, Patty Corbs, throws 3 innings in that game. He pitches 6, 7, 8. Davey is on the record saying he wanted to take him out after the 7th inning. But he just kept going and going and going. He gets 9 outs in the biggest game in franchise history.
There's something about that in this book.
Yeah. Corbin gets those 9 outs, and then Hudson comes in, slams the door. Daniel Hudson, he got Springer, Altuve, Brantley, arguably like 3 of the top 10 hitters in baseball, like it was nothing. In Game 7 of the World Series, he is pumping strike after strike after strike. Gets Brantley on the changeup in a full count, and I fell to my knees. And it is the second championship in 18 months for the District of Champions. For the
second one in that month, actually, because the Mystics won the WNBA Finals like a couple weeks before that.
Too, yeah. The District of Champions.
District of Champs. Yeah.
No more DC Sports curse. It's over. It's
done.
Oh
yeah, that died last year.
It's done. It's over.
It's not even last year now. That died. Like the Caps killed that.
That was fun.
The Caps killed it. I think I was actually on record saying that too, because like I got interviewed a lot over that month, and in one of the interviews, I know it was ABC7 that was asking me this question, like about the DC Sports curse, and I'm like, that died last year. Y'all
over.
Y'all don't remember that? Like the Caps killed that.
It's over. It's done. It's finished.
It's gone.
So let's it's crazy to me to think that the Nationals are playing a game in less than 24 hours. I don't think they're unveiling the banner. I think they're going to wait until there are people in the stands, but it's still crazy to me that we are less than 24 hours from Max Scherzer throwing the first pitch to DJ LeMahieu as champions.
And Garrett Cole stepping on for Game 8. Look at that, guys. They sent in Garrett Cole after all.
Did you watch Did you watch the Zoom reunion where they watched Game 7? And I think it was Zim. I think it was Zim who said, "Hey guys, Garrett Cole's getting warm," and everyone just like unison laughter. It was unbelievable. Dozier's like without a shirt. I think Trey's drank a liter of tequila at that point. It's just like it's guys having fun. It's guys being dudes, and it's time to turn the page. Davey said in that video, "What's next?" And tomorrow we're gonna find out what's next. So the only major change I can think of from the roster from last year to this year, obviously excluding Zimmerman opting out and Joe Ross opting out for health reasons, is the loss of Anthony Rendon to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And Evan and I were talking, Mike, a little bit before you jumped on, just about how, it's going to be a platoon between Keyboom, Starlin Castro, and Asdrubal Cabrera in terms of
the left side of the infield.
In terms of the left side of the infield. So I guess just kind of what are we thinking about that? Who do we think is going to step up? and not necessarily replace Rendon's production, but not have
Oh
this
no,
gaping hole in the middle of the
there ain't a single
lineup
person that can replace Rendon.
for
Well,
sure.
there's
Gonna have
not
to do
going to
that.
be a single player that could replace Rendon because Rendon's one of those guys that's irreplaceable. But I think Keith
Exactly.
Boom's got what it takes for sure.
Oh yeah, Keyboom's the future.
For me, I think Kieboom's on the roster because they want him playing games, and I think he will be playing games. Whether he's playing every day or if he's coming in as you don't need to pinch hit because there's a universal DH, but I think they wanted Kieboom up with the big club because there's not going to be minor league baseball. And the only way you get better at something is to practice. That's why it's such a shame seeing what's going on with minor league baseball and contraction, and it's going to have a huge impact on player development for years to come. And we'll get to the Mookie Betts deal a little later in the show, but I think it was really a prerogative for the Dodgers to get that done because they don't know what their outfield is going to look like because they don't know what their player development system is going to look like. So I think it'll primarily
Gotta invest in
fall.
the here and now since you don't know what the future looks like.
Bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, especially in the middle of a once in
Yeah.
a century pandemic. Or the less polished version of that, prospects are for poor people. So I think Castro's going to take the load. Whether he hits at the top of the order or whether he slides into that 5 or 6 spot will be interesting. But the dude's a hitting machine. He doesn't get a ton of credit because he's been on bad Miami Marlins teams. Asdrubal Cabrera was a free agent signing, I think, after the trade deadline last
Yeah, he was
year.
after the trade.
And what a role he played. I think he's going to continue to play a role where versatility is going to be everything in a shortened season. And especially where, like, guys could be testing positive for coronavirus, and you have to have a replacement plan at the drop of a hat. So having this versatility, I think, will be a real benefit for the Nationals this season.
Yeah, I agree for sure. And the bullpen, it was shaky last year, but it does have some continuity this year. And extending Hudson was definitely a big key in that. And Doolittle will be back.
Extending Hudson, signing, I think Will Harris signed a 3-year contract. I mentioned to
Yeah.
Evan before we got going, we've got 4 guys who can get 3 outs.
Yeah, and I brought this up before the camera started rolling. Just the 2019 bullpen had this astronomically high ERA, and 2020 is looking so good. The scary thought that's in your head right now is how good this bullpen could have been on last year's team, because that's scary.
I said I think it's a 100-win team at least.
That's nightmare fuel right there.
Yeah. Well, my man Tanner Rainey is gonna step up. He's gonna be in a.
Tanner Rainey was very underrated. Like in my opinion, Tanner Rainey was one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated member of the 2019 team, because like people saw Tanner Rainey and automatically threw him in, like lumped him in with the rest of the bullpen minus Sean Doolittle and said, "Oh, that bullpen's bad, so that means he's bad." Like Tanner Rainey's coming in, oh he's gonna blow the game, but actually Tanner Rainey held down his weight more times than not.
I love his stuff. It's electric, fastball, slider. I think he's going to add in a changeup. I mean, fastball's touching triple digits. Slider, I think it's to 87, 88. He's Blake Trinan, but with development and with a little more polish.
So, like, when you say Blake Trinan, you're talking about Oakland Blake Trinan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Oakland Blake Trinan.
No, he can get 3 outs. Obviously, Doolittle can get 3 outs. Hudson can get 3 outs.
Yeah.
And then you put these guys into situations to succeed. And that was the biggest problem before the trade deadline last year.
Translation with Rainey. Didn't he come in game 2 of NLDS?
I think he got 3 outs in that game. 2. Yeah, because I think he pitched the 7th. He pitched the 7th. I think Max pitched the 8th, and then Hudson pitched the 9th. Because I don't think Doolittle was either unavailable or. The other thing is one of the more mind-blowing stats about 2019 is Daniel Hudson got the last out of the wild card game, of Game 5 of the Division Series, of Game 4 of the Championship Series, and of Game 7 of the World Series. The bullpen, granted, we use 3, maybe 4 guys, because I think Fernando Rodney would come in and mop-up duty, but
yeah, Rodney came in a couple times.
Davey knew what he had,
and
he managed to win the game.
We used Rodney in one hold. I can't remember whether it was game 3 or 4. It was somewhere in the World Series where we used Rodney in a hold.
Yeah. And credit to Davey. Like, Mike knows as well how much I just dumped on him in 2018 at the beginning of 2019. But, credit to not only keeping his guys together at 19 and 31, but for knowing what he had, and for in the playoffs where, an out is an out is an out, he understood that. And he went to Corbin for 9 in Game 7. He went to Max in Game 2 of the Division Series where he knew he had to have it. If they lose Game 2 of the Division Series,
game, don't forget that.
Strasburg in the wild card game. If they lose Game 2 of the Division Series, we're not sitting here talking about the Nationals being defending champions. And they almost lost Game 2. They almost lost it.
Bottom 9.
Hudson was nails.
Like there were so many ways that could have went wrong, but Davey just had faith in Hudson, and the faith paid off.
He was nails the whole postseason.
Like and that's the wildest thing about all this. This bullpen that was known for like their high numbers in like April, May, June, like the 19 and 31 stretch. They get to the postseason and they don't blow a single save, not one.
Yeah.
Like they don't blow a lead.
Well, and they're resilient, right? They came from behind in every series, every game, or every series clinching game except in the Cardinals. And even the Cardinals, we were all squeezing our ass cheeks because, it's 7-0, then it's 7-1, then it's 7-4, and we're all getting flashbacks. And we're all getting flashbacks to Game 5 in 2012. Like, this is supposed to be a coronation. Like, we score 7 runs, we score 6 runs in the first inning. Like, it's our time. Like, this isn't supposed to be happening. And it didn't, and they held on.
Right. Like, the one thing in hindsight that I'm just now realizing is that Game 4 was not the same thing as Game 5, because the whole thing is Game 5, we blow that lead, we lose, we're done. Like, it's over. But the thing with Game 4 was, even if we did blow that lead, we could have just won this. We could have just wrapped the series up tomorrow too. So like, there was actually less pressure, way less pressure for Game 4.
Yeah, and they locked it down, and Hudson nails. It's the big thing for me is, in a shortened season, you can't get off to this 19 and 31 start. You can't have a bullpen that's not reliable from day one. And you can't, like, every game matters. You can't just punt a game because, Austin Voth, or, they scored 5 runs on us in the first inning. Like, let's get to tomorrow. Like, and I think that, again, plays into the national strengths where, Davey's mantra is, let's go 1-0 every day.
1-0 every day.
And they have to. In a 60-game season, you have to go 1-0 more days than you don't.
All right, now let's do some news and notes across Major League Baseball. Today, the big news of all was when Mookie Betts inked a big extension in LA. It was a massive payday. The contract was, let me just pull it up.
I think it's 12 years, 365 mil, I want to say.
It was 13.
Well, I think because he's got this year left.
Okay, no, it's 12 years. I'm trying to see the number mark.
I think it's 365 million.
Yeah, it's 365 million, 12 years.
Sheesh.
It's LA with LA money.
Sheesh.
So are the Dodgers the new Yankees?
Well, they haven't won.
No.
Yet. They haven't won yet.
No, here's why.
Because they haven't won.
The Yankees spent all that money in the last decade, didn't reach a single World Series, not one. The Dodgers spent less money than the Yankees and made it to 2. So that already puts them ahead.
I think the money's close, honestly, because the Yankees really, after A-Rod, they weren't chasing the marquee free agents every year. I think they realized, especially kind of working into the mid-2010s, like they sold in 2016. The Yankees never sell. They sold in 2016, and
They
it
did.
netted them Gleyber Torres and Clint Frazier and all of these guys who are, the baby bombers. And even in 2015, when they were just getting back to the playoffs, I think there was a team that wanted Aaron Judge in a trade, and the Yankees said no. So the Yankees really, from a player development side, they're not the Yankees of old where they just go out and throw money at their problems. And they've got this kid in the Dominican, the 17-year-old Jason Dominguez, who's going to be unbelievable. Like the Dodgers have sort of taken this mantra of we're going to throw money at all of our
They're
problems.
trying to buy a World Series.
Yeah. And it's hilarious to me that they threw this sort of dollar in commitment, and I'm always one for Schadenfreude, especially when it comes to one Bryce Harper, who's 2 hours up I-95. They were willing to give Mookie Betts this 12-year commitment. They only went to 4 years for Harper, and the AAV was well above what he ended up signing for in Philadelphia. I think they offered him 4 years, $135 million, which if he takes that, I don't think he gets booed to the level that he did. Because,
of course,
you're
because
going to
the reason
Philadelphia.
Bryce got booed was because he signed with a division rival. The Dodgers
Exactly.
are not a division rival. We would have just let that man live.
He signed with the Phillies. He signed with the team that brought all their visitors to the ballpark in the past, and we didn't forget that.
And he left money on the table. Like if he signs 4 years, 135, hindsight is 2020. He secured the bag. Good for him, especially now where securing the bag is everything. But if imagine he takes that short-term deal with LA, wins another MVP because he's got. God, imagine him in that lineup. All the protection he's going to have with Bellinger and Turner and Kike Hernandez and Chris Taylor, who can grind out at bats, and now Mookie Betts. Like, he might win another MVP. He might win another ring. And then guess what? He's the belle of the ball in his free agent class again when he's 29. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That would be, I don't know why he didn't take it. Obviously, hindsight now with coronavirus, good for him for securing his money. But in the
how was he
moment,
supposed to know that in 2019? In the winter of 2019, January.
no, of course. But in the moment, Michael, I think I texted you when the report came in that he turned it down. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? It was the same thing with Kirk Cousins. He signed a 3-year contract with the Vikings in free agency. And guess what? He gets to hit the market for – Kirk Cousins isn't the player that Harper is, but he plays the marquee position in sports, and he's going to hit free agency again when he's 30, and he's going to get another big-time payday. So, oh well. Ring, we have it. I love it.
Yeah, honestly, that's better than an outfielder anyway. I'll take a piece of metal any day.
We like the piece of metal.
It's a good piece of metal.
Yeah, so basically, until he gets one of these, I don't want to hear it.
How does Manfred still have his job? It's not on the show prep, but how does he still have his job? What are we doing? The Astros, the calling a piece of metal, the blatant disregard for minor league baseball and the player development model.
We could have been a month into the season at this point. I want to point that out.
At least.
We could have been a good month into the season at this point if it wasn't for Manfred.
And then he comes out, he says, after he imposes the season, he goes on Dan Patrick and says, the goal was always 60 games. He admits that the owners were never negotiating in good faith.
Lying to yourself, Rob.
They were never negotiating in good faith. And now they're saying, the whole argument was, we're not going to have fans. We're not going to have fans. And now they're like, well, we might have fans in a limited capacity. Get out of here. Get out of here.
There was one brief article, I believe it was the Rockies, that said maybe they could have fans, a small market team. But aside from that, no.
Give
I'm
me
pretty sure we already knew no fans from the jump.
break. Give me a break.
We knew no fans from the jump.
It's gotta go, man. Like,
So basically, he's looking for any shield to hide behind to cover his ass.
yeah, well, he's supposed to be the shield for the owners, but he went out and said that they were never negotiating in good faith. So I just think it's funny that whatever. Prediction time. Let's do it. I want to hear it. Let's see who's been paying attention. All right. Starting with Mr. Marzzacco, our dear leader. Who wins the American League East and why?
The Yankees, because they're loaded and they got Garrett Cole, and yeah, I just think the Red Sox are behind. The Rays have a shot to at least challenge the Yankees. The O's are like light years away, and the Blue Jays don't even know where they're playing yet. So,
Mr. Johnson.
Okay, so for the AL East, I agree with Mike, and I'm gonna say it's the Yankees, but my thing is Yankees, but it's not going to be a blowout because I mean Tampa is breathing right on their heels, and I mean Garrett Cole was a good signing, and the Yankees do have pretty much the same batting lineup from last year, which was one of the best in baseball, but there is a chink in their armor. There is a chink, that bullpen. That's the bullpen that cost them in the ALCS, and that's the bullpen they failed to address last year, the trade deadline. That's still a weak spot the Yankees have. So I feel like although Tampa's nice. The Rays could upset somebody in the playoffs. They could make a deep run. But I'm gonna still say the Yankees win by 2 games.
So I'll agree with you guys. I think it's going to be the Yankees. I think Tampa gets in there as a wild card team. If this shortened season plays to any team's advantage, I think it plays to Tampa's advantage more than anyone.
Definitely.
They are such a forward-thinking organization when it comes to not just their overall player development, but specifically the development of their pitchers, where they might not have a starting rotation. They might just throw Johnny Holstaff every game.
They'll just throw in a starter, throw in like an opener every game.
Or not even an opener. If you have 3 guys that can get you 9 outs, right? In a 60-game season, an out is an out is an out because every game matters.
And a win is a win. Every game does matter.
Every game matters. I think the Rays are set up really nicely. Orioles, I think, are several years away. Boston is going in the wrong direction. I'm excited about Tampa. I'm excited about Toronto. They got some
Toronto's
dudes.
a solid third.
They got some dudes.
Even though they don't have a home right now, I'll give the Blue Jays third in the East, and I'll say Toronto is in the hunt for a playoff spot until like the last couple weeks of the season. I don't think the Blue Jays gonna go away that easy.
Have so much young talent. They are an exciting team. If you are a baseball fan looking for a bandwagon team, hop on the Blue Jays bandwagon. Evan, I'm going to disagree.
Nope. Come to the ones that just won. That's what bandwagon is anyway.
Evan, I'm going to disagree with you on one thing you said about the Yankees. I thought their Achilles heel last year was that they didn't go out and get 1 or 2 starting pitchers. I think their bullpen happens to be quite strong, especially at the back end with Ottavino, David Robertson, and Aroldis Chapman, who I think is still recovering from COVID-19. But they go out and they address that with Garrett Cole. I think they're a juggernaut, and I think we'll get to kind of overall predictions, but I think they end up representing.
The point I was trying to make about the Yankees was that like they hit hard, very hard, but they're also hittable.
They're gonna outscore you.
Yeah, that's how they win.
Yep.
That's how the Yankees win games.
I think they end up representing the American League in the World Series. All right, to the Central. Evan, we will start with you. Who wins the Central and why?
Okay, honestly, this one, AL Central. I'm going to say Twins, but watch out for the White Sox. But, like, Minnesota's going to win the AL Central by more games than the Yankees win the East, if that makes sense. I say Twins win by, like, 6 or 7.
Okay. Mike?
I say the Twins as well.
Tell you what, I'm going to disagree with you both. I think the Twins did get better, especially with the addition of Josh Donaldson. I like the White Sox. They have a ton of young talent at
I
their
love the White
position
Sox.
players. They brought in Yasmani Grandal with a young pitching staff. I think Kopech opted out, but they've still got Dylan Cease. I think they signed Dallas Keuchel.
They
They're a
did.
team. They're a team that can outscore you. My worry with them is the back end of their bullpen, but they are playing weak opposition in both the AL and NL Central.
Yeah, the AL Central is definitely the weakest division in the American League. NL Central, like you said, it's also the weakest in the
Yeah.
National League because the NL Central is really the only division. Wait, no, scratch that. NL West maybe where like I don't see like 2 or 3 teams going into like making it into the playoffs. Like NL Central maybe gets one. Like NL Central definitely gets one because division champ is guaranteed,
Yeah.
but I don't see any wild cards coming out the Central this year.
Yeah, I mean both the AL and NL Central are pretty weak.
And honestly, I'm rooting for Lucas Giolito too because the thing with Giolito is I see he's been making great strides with Chicago, and I'm honestly probably in the minority that doesn't have any regrets about the trade because the things that Giolito is doing in Chicago, he couldn't have possibly been doing here. Like there wasn't the opportunity just wasn't there because the whole time we had Max Scherzer, we had Steven Strasburg, Jordan Zimmerman, Gio Gonzalez. There was no room for Giolito.
In now, and the Nationals were in win now. The White Sox, their
Exactly.
window is open.
Exactly. Like there wasn't that same position for Giolito here, and there was never going to be that position for Giolito here. There was never going to be that opening.
Same with Reynaldo Lopez. What bothered me about that trade, and again, hindsight is 2020. What bothered me about that trade is, had we thrown in Victor Robles, Chris Sale is a National. And you know the value that Mike Rizzo puts on starting pitching.
The only counterpoint to that is Victor Robles has proven to be pretty good defensively.
Of course. And, for both teams that made the trades, the Red Sox in 18 and the Nationals in 19, they both have rings. Chris Sale's got a ring. Adam Eaton's got a ring. So it worked out. All right, we go to the West where there is – I'll hold my comments till the end. Mike, who wins the AL West and why?
The Astros, because they will not be getting booed anywhere because the stadiums will be empty.
I couldn't find a trash can, so I'm just banging on the couch cushion.
Yeah.
I got you covered. I got you covered.
There you go. All right, Evan, who wins the West and why?
As bad as I want to say the Angels, and I really want to say the Angels bad, I got to go with the Astros because, like, if nothing else, because Houston has the best pitching in the American League. Because they still have Justin Verlander, they still have Zach Greinke, and they still have a pretty good bullpen, even minus Will Harris. Because Houston's bullpen was one of the best in the American League, and that's a big reason why they got to the World Series in the first place. But again, it ain't gonna be no cakewalk because the Angels improved, and Oakland's always a threat. But I think the Astros are just gonna outlast them.
I'll agree with you guys. I think the Astros end up winning the division just because they have, on paper, they are the best team. I think that second wild card will come down to whoever doesn't win the Central between the White Sox and Twins, and then the Oakland Athletics. I think the Angels are a year away.
Oh, you said the Rays don't make it?
No. The Rays will make it. The Rays will be the first wild card team. The second wild card, I think, comes down to whoever doesn't win the Central between Chicago and the Twins, and then the Oakland Athletics, who are, again, I think another organization that's set up to succeed in a 60-game season, considering just the forward-thinking nature of it.
In a 60-game season, though, you can't sleep on a ball club like the Angels no more. Because how the Angels are set up to win, it's kind of like the Yankees, except not except with less pitching. But like
guys that get on base.
in a 60-game season, you could actually make it like toward the top of your division and get to playoff standing just on the strength of your offense alone.
Well, Trout might get on base at a 500 clip because he's that good, but it's just a matter of like Rendon. I don't think is healthy. I know Madden came out and said he's missing the first 2 games at least. But the middle of that order is going to be.
You still got Trout. You still got Shohei Ohtani.
It's Trout, Ohtani, Rendon, and who? And I don't think their pitching is good enough. I don't think it's nearly good enough to be.
They're not good. The thing with the Angels is in a full 162-game season, no way they make the playoffs with that pitching staff. But in a 60-game season, I don't think you could rule them out.
Anything can happen.
I don't think you can rule them out in the 60 game.
All right, so we will move over to the National League. We'll save the National League East because obviously this is a national podcast. And we will start. We'll start out west. We'll do the snake. We'll start east. We'll come back west, and we will start in the west with the National League. I think this one is fairly obvious. Michael, who wins the NL West and why?
Open and shut.
I'll go with the Dodgers because they're just a loaded team. Like we said, they could be the new Yankees. And they're hungry, especially after, falling to us last year.
Evan?
I'll go with the Dodgers, too, because from the looks of it, pretty much everybody else is rebuilding except maybe the Padres, but probably not. Like, everybody else is rebuilding, so the Dodgers just have the pitching rotation, the bullpen, and the batting lineup. They're like a well-oiled machine. So it's like LA's gonna run away with the West, and like Mike said, they got the frustration from losing to us in the NLDS last year. But add on to that, they feel like they were robbed in 17 and 18 because of what happened with Houston and Boston. So that's 3 years worth of frustration that they're ready to take out on the rest of the National League. So they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think the Dodgers will win. I think the Dodgers will win the division. I think 2 teams to watch, especially in an NL that's pretty weak. I don't think the Central sends 2 teams to the playoffs.
No.
I like Arizona.
It might be 3 from the NL East, honestly.
I like what Arizona's done, getting Starling Marte via trade, getting Madison Bumgarner via free agency. They've got guys, too, in terms of Robbie Ray, Archie Bradley, and Andrew Chafin. You want to talk about guys who can get outs no matter where those outs come from. I like Arizona. I think they are a super versatile ball club. I think Ketel Marte is the most underrated player in Major League Baseball.
Ketel Marte is very underrated.
Ketel Marte is a ball player, man.
He's one of the dudes you don't think of, but he'll take you deep in a heartbeat.
I like Arizona. I think if the NL East doesn't send 3 teams to the playoffs in terms of both wild card teams, I think Arizona is sort of the best of the rest. All right, moving to the Central. Evan, what do we think? Who wins it and why?
For the Central. NL Central is one of those divisions where I don't believe that any team has a chance of winning the other 2 divisions in the National League if they were placed in there. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say St. Louis. Because, the Cardinals they didn't really show it in the NLCS, and that's big props to the Nationals pitching staff. But this is a dangerous Cardinals lineup we're talking about here. You got Paul Goldschmidt, you still got Hayward, and the back end is pretty good too with guys like Harrison Bader. So I think the Cardinals make it, but it's definitely going to be a 3 seed for St. Louis.
Mike?
I think it'll be close. It'll come down to the Cardinals and Cubs. In the end, though, the Cardinals will come out on top.
I'm going to disagree with both of y'all. I think it's the Brewers division to lose. remember Christian Yelich gets hurt at the end of last year, forcing Trent Grisham to play right field.
Oh yeah,
We know
there's a lot of what ifs out of Milwaukee.
We know how that turned out. Their bullpen with Jeremy Jeffress and obviously Hader, and I think they got one other guy. They've got versatility in pitching. They've got, I think the loss of Mike Moustakas is not insurmountable, but I think with Keston Hero ready to play every
Yeah,
day,
they lost a lot on offense.
I think it is ultimately their division to lose. I think the Cubs, I think, take a big time step back. They struggled towards the end of last season. The Cardinals, I think the loss of Marcell Ozuna as a righty power bat in the middle of their order, they're obviously still going to be scrappy and hang around because that's what that organization does. But I like the Brewers to win the Central.
Yeah, Milwaukee reads to me like that kind of team where it's like most nights they're gonna grind out a win, but some nights the fireworks will be on. Like they'll show off the fireworks every now and then, but usually you're gonna see a lot of like 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. That's the type of games that Milwaukee wins.
Yeah, and you talk about Mike Trout potentially being able to drag the Angels to the playoffs. I think on a better team, Christian Yelich has that
Does
potential in Milwaukee. All right, and last but certainly not least, the National League Eastern Division, where your Washington Nationals preside. I'll tell you what, I'll go first. This is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I like the Braves to win the division again. I think they got better in terms of adding Ozuna as pop. It stinks that Felix Hernandez isn't going to get a shot to play for them. I think he opted out of the season. He either opted out or retired. The middle of that order is dangerous. Hopefully Freddie Freeman is able to play. I know he had a nasty bout with coronavirus. They add Cole Hamels on a 1-year deal. They keep that bullpen intact with Melanson and Will Smith, and I think they added 1 or 2 more pieces in the bullpen. But I like what Atlanta did. And then I think the Nationals are in it. I think they're in it either as a wild card team if they don't win the division. But I like the Braves. Philly, they are what they are. They're not good enough in terms of starting pitching. They tried to address that with Zach Wheeler, but they might be able to score their way out of problems with the lineup that they're going to put together.
Philly's the type of team where in a 60-game season like this, they could make a wild card team. They could make a wild card spot, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make that either.
Their bullpen is atrocious. It is not good at all. The Mets are the Mets, and they're going to do Mets things. But I like the Braves to win it, and then I like the Nationals. And then if the other NL teams falter, I think Philly's going to be that third team in. Mike?
I think the Nats are going to win the division, and here's why. I think the rest from winning the World Series and the whole coronavirus will only help them, because if it was if the season started in early April, I think you would get off to another slow start. I think this long layoff will help them, and the Braves definitely got better, and they'll probably be in second. Phillies will be in third. Mets will be the Mets and be in fourth, and Marlins still got a ways.
Man, I mean, you can't even with the Marlins, you can't even look at like their prospect pool or any of their young players and be excited. Like with the Orioles, you at least have Adley Rutschman, who has the potential to be really special. And I loved what they did in the draft this year with the 2 SEC kids, Heston Kjerstad and Anthony Servideo. You look around the league at teams that aren't good and they have either extensive prospect pools or really good young talent. The Marlins don't have either. And, it's their own fault. It's their own fault for wanting to cut all that salary. But I digress. Evan, your predictions.
If you look at everybody the Marlins had like 3 years ago, you realize that team had mad potential, but sometimes sometimes the front office just that's enough on that because
I think it was the Stanton contract that did them
right.
in. I think they thought Stanton was going to be, another Mike Trout, another Bryce Harper, not only from a statistical perspective, but also from a marketing perspective. And he just wasn't.
Because you had him and you had JT Real Muto too, and you had
And
Starlin
Lynch.
Castro was on that team too. Like the Marlins had a pretty good batting lineup in like 2016-17.
Yeah. So, it stinks, but they play in our division and we got to take care of business. So who wins the East and why?
Well, honestly, I gotta agree with Mike. I say the Nats win it because the common saying around baseball this season is every game counts. Well, the Nats have been playing with that same mentality, that same fire since May 24th, 2019. So you can expect that same passion, that same flame from the Nats coming out starting opening day tomorrow. And the obvious weak link of the 2019 team was the bullpen. They addressed that with Will Harris. So there isn't really too many areas where the Nats fall behind too much. And at the end of the day, you got to remember, there's a lot of hype going around the Braves, but this is pretty much the same hype that was surrounding them after the trade deadline, and look how that ended up.
Yeah.
I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it.
There you go. Banners fly forever. Last couple of predictions. Give me MVPs in each league. Give me Cy Youngs in each league. We'll start with Evan. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit.
Okay. MVP in the American League, I honestly think it's going to be Aaron Judge. Because now you got a player in Aaron Judge who believes that he might have had Rookie of the Year in 2017 stolen from him. So not only is he going to be swinging like he's Aaron Judge, which he is, he's going to be swinging angry. So watch out for that. And from the National League, MVP of the National League, I'm going to have to say, who won it last year? Cody Bellinger?
I think.
Yeah, if it was Bellinger last year, I feel like somebody on the Dodgers is going to win it, so I'm going to say Mookie Betts.
Okay.
I
Mookie
feel
Betts will
like
join.
The MVP is going to LA somewhere.
Mookie Betts will join the exclusive club of players to win MVP in both leagues.
There's only one other dude that's on that list.
Oh gosh, don't tell me who it is. I need to get it myself. It's not Ricky Henderson, is it?
It might be.
Right,
I forgot his name too. It'll come to me afterwards.
All right, Cy Youngs.
Okay, Cy Young. So American League Cy Young, I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be one of the division winners. I'm gonna say Zach Greinke.
Okay, interesting.
I'm gonna say Zach Greinke.
And in the National League.
National League, I'm gonna be a homer here and say Max Scherzer. Wait, either Max Scherzer or Steven Strasburg.
There you go. Love it. All right, Mike. Cy Youngs and MVPs in both leagues. Who you got?
All right. MVP, I'll agree with Evan. I'll go with Aaron Judge. And for the National League, I'm going to be a homer and go with Juan Soto. I think he was our best kept secret for a while, but he's not a secret anymore.
Cy Youngs.
He was a secret until he homered officially before he even debuted.
That's true.
And Cy Youngs.
No, Google it, y'all. Google it. Officially, Juan Soto has a home run
before he debuted. And the only player to win MVP in both leagues, Frank Robinson.
Know it.
I'm gonna go with Verlander for the American League Cy Young Award, and for the National League, I'm gonna go with either Scherzer or Strasburg. It'll probably be one of those two.
Yeah,
One, th-
I'm
one,
getting those vibes.
one thing I forgot to mention, watch out for the Reds in the NL Central.
That's what I've been trying to say.
I totally
That's
forgot.
what I've been trying to say.
I totally forgot about it, but
It
watch
was
out for
like,
the Reds in the NL Central.
because I said as early as 2019, I think I tweeted this out a couple times, that the Reds were going to make the playoffs in 2020.
Yeah, and that was before they signed.
I feel like they can make it even in a full season.
Yeah, I mean they got a good roster. They got pitching. Just the back end of the bullpen is the only thing that worries me in a shortened season. But they got dudes. They can score their way out of a lot of problems, and they got some pretty solid frontline starting pitching. MVP, AL, Mike Trout's the best player in baseball. He gets my MVP prediction. Until he's no longer the best player in baseball. National League, I'm gonna go with Yelich. I think he's gonna carry. I think the Brewers win the Central. I think it's close, and I think Yelich is going to be the guy who ends up putting them over the top. Cy Young's, my one homer pick, I think it's going to be Strasburg. I think a shortened season will be greatly to his benefit. And in the American League, I think the Cy Young goes to a reliever. I don't know who it's going to be.
Oh.
But I think in the American League, I think it goes to a reliever. I don't think it's Aroldis Chapman, though it might be. But I think the Cy Young goes to a reliever because I think bullpen arms, I think relief pitching is going to have even more of an effect than it does normally.
60-game season.
I think it's going to impact.
Because now every save opportunity is magnified because every night might be the night where you do or don't make the playoffs.
Oh, every game is a must win.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Final thoughts.
Play ball.
Let's play baseball, man.
Like you said, play ball. And lastly, I find it funny how the Astros represented the National League in the World Series more recently than the Braves did. I feel like we're going to catch fire from Braves fans sooner or later, so we're going to have that little nugget to lie back on.
I love it. Well, so what are we thinking for this? We think we come back, regroup at the end of each week, talk about the week that was in Nationals baseball, because Nationals baseball in 23 hours, man. It's
Yep, tomorrow they're finally going to bring in Garrett Cole for Game 8. Hold
up. All right. Mike, why don't you bring us home?
All right. Thanks for listening to us. Be sure to download and subscribe to this podcast and to follow The Pursuit on Twitter at OnePursuitDC. That'll do it from here. See you later, and go Nats.